Got an assessment centre coming up? Here are 14 tips to make sure that you pass. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another video to help you get hired. Today we're going to be talking about 14 tips to pass your next assessment centre. If you want more tips like these, exercises, walkthroughs and learning how to pass the 7 most common exercises that you can expect in any assessment centre, then make sure you check out our Acing the Assessment Centre pack down in the description below. So let's talk about 14 tips to pass your assessment centre. Tip number 1, 1 hour away or more, stay overnight. So I have had clients over the years that I've trained people since 2013 who've been late to assessment centres, maybe because it snowed or because they didn't know where the venue was. And what happens if you're late? You fail, right? So a really good rule of thumb that I've used over time is to say that if you say use something like Waze or National Rail or Google Maps and the venue is going to be more than an hour away from where you live, I recommend that you stay at a cheap hotel nearby. Number 1, it's going to make you feel so much more relaxed because you're not worrying about getting there. And number 2, you can scope out the venue beforehand, make sure that you know how to get there and you avoid any complications which could happen on the day, which yes, they may not be your fault, but no, the company probably isn't going to care. Tip number 2 is to practice case studies. Now, many of you getting ready for assessment centres will probably be doing so by yourself. You're not going to have access to groups of people and lots of exercises, though you can find free exercises and walkthrough answers down in the description below in our Acing the Assessment Centre bundle. So with practicing case studies, I recommend this because really it's a really good way for you to get used to reading material, coming up with solutions, getting answers, solving things over time, and doing so quickly, effectively and efficiently. And you can practice this by doing a written exercise based upon what you've read. You can practice this by doing a presentation based on what you've read. But the more case studies you practice, the better you are going to be at assessment centres. And that's really very helpful if you're having to prepare by yourself, which most of you will. Tip number 3 is speak or die. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. You're not going to die, but if you've got a group discussion, you've got to speak. If you're kind of going to be amongst people, you're going to be networking, you're going to be, doing a meet a graduate or meet the manager, you've really got to push yourself to speak, to say something. If you're an introvert and you're just like, but I really don't like talking. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's kind of tough. You're going to have to put yourself through your paces, and that's really addressed in another one of the tips coming up. But you're going to have to force yourself to get used to talking to people, because a lot of big companies that you're applying to who have assessment centres, you have to talk to lots of people. There's really no way around it. So you're going to have to push yourself and get out of your comfort zone. But be very mindful on the day that you want to think less and speak more. Tip number 4, anyone can pass and anyone can fail. So a common misconception that a lot of people have when they go to assessment centres, even though only 2% of people at best are going to make it from an assessment centre from the initial application, is that you're going to be pitted against people who are applying for lots of different jobs, lots of different divisions. They're not necessarily going to be people who you're directly competing against or who you're necessarily going to be working with. And also in every assessment centre, everyone can pass and everyone can fail. So when I did the write-up for my Acing Assessment Centre bundle, I reckon that I'd done over 2,000 hours of live training. When I used to do that in a group in London, I used to have 4 groups, 2 days a week, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. And there were many, many times when everybody failed. And there were quite a few times when quite a few people passed. So don't think it's only 1 person can pass or 3 people can pass. What does that mean? You're just competing with yourself. It's just down to you to give the very best performance possible. So tip number 5, you're always being observed. So you're not always being assessed, because obviously you're being assessed during the exercises, but you're always being observed. So it means be enthusiastic, be curious, ask questions, engage with people. Like, Don't just be the guy who's standing off in the corner or the girl who keeps slipping off to the toilet because she feels uncomfortable. It's completely understandable, but what you've got to recognize is a lot of time, effort and money goes into organizing assessment centers. And there are going to be graduates there, managers, directors, partners. There's going to be loads of people there, and you want to be the person who stands out. Say, for example, you may not have done great in the group discussion or in a case study or in a presentation or in the interview, but a couple of people say, I really liked Mike, like he seemed really engaged, he seemed really curious, he seemed to know a lot about our business. You know, a lot of times a decision is really going to come down to people having conversations, and if the same name keeps popping up, then they're going to go, hey, maybe we should give him a chance. Tip number 6 is prepare questions. So you're going to probably have the opportunity to meet graduates or meet people who are working for the business. And this is an excellent chance for you to ask questions, be inquisitive, and also to learn stuff. So some questions that I really like is, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned while working here? What's the most useful thing that you've learned? If I was going to start at this job next week, what's something that I could learn by myself that would help me to sort of really help out? What do you think is the biggest challenge for next year? What do you think is something, a project that really demonstrates what this company is about? Like, go there, be curious. I've told this story in other videos. So previously, as my job as a COO at a different company, there's only one person I interviewed that ever really stood out because she asked great questions. She didn't end up getting the job, but when I got to the end of the interview, I was like, do you have any questions for me? And normally the questions that you get asked is like, when can I start? When will I hear back? How much will I get paid? It's just like, you know, look, the manager will let you know, But this woman kind of sat there and she went, well, you know, the business seems really exciting and it seems like a great team. I'm just curious, where do you see the business evolving, changing and growing in the next 12 months? And it really made me stop and think. Like, good questions are one that really make people reflect and think about their own experiences, their own opinions. Ultimately, you can't go wrong asking people questions about themselves because most people love talking about themselves. Tip number 7 is all about problem solving. So a lot of the core facets of all of the 7 exercises that you can get in an assessment center, it's just about getting really good at solving problems. In a role play, you're solving a problem with how to sell to a client or how to re-engage a customer or how to deliver a report to a manager. In a written exercise, you're trying to solve a business problem and then present that on paper. So the better that you can get in your practice at being good at solving business problems or explaining business problems and solutions, the better that you're going to be at assessment centers. Tip number 8 is use meetups. So meetups is something that I really love. It's called meetup.org. You can find local meetups in your area. So one of the things that has become readily apparent, particularly post-COVID, is that a lot of students and even adults, even myself, right? I will go to work, come home, I have some other activities that I do, but really I have a kind of reasonably small social network of people. I don't meet new people a lot. Well, I do through volunteering, but that's a very kind of defined facet of my life. So what that means is that essentially what is people's biggest problem at assessment center? Meeting strangers. Like, they're just like, oh my God, there's a stranger and we've got to solve and compete stuff together to get the ultimate prize. So how can you get better at this? You can use meetups and you can integrate that with something that you enjoy. Maybe you enjoy book club, walking, archery, getting pissed, whatever it is, you can do that using a meetup. And I always say to people, if you're nervous about meeting people, why not do a face-to-face meetup? If you're really anxious, why not do an online meetup to try and encourage yourself to go out and meet new people? Tip number 9, know the company and the role. You should go into that day kind of knowing about the business, knowing about the job that you're going to be doing, knowing about the skills that you'd need, or just like a little bit of revision or a little bit of cheat sheet. Because then say, for example, when you get to the interview, you're going to be able to give a really compelling answer. When you're speaking to members of staff, if you really know the business, it's something that's going to kind of take people off guard and be like, oh, recently I read a white paper from Deloitte's consulting division about blah. Or what do you think about that? Or were you working on that project? Like, someone to really show a keen interest in what someone else is doing is rare. So if you go in there really knowing your subject and the business, that's going to be super helpful for you. Tip number 10, be commercially aware. This is the most common pitfall for people in final interviews, is that they don't really know the industry. So for example, if you're applying to work in audit, go and read Accountancy Age. If you're applying to work in HR, then go and look up the industry news about HR. Like, that's the stuff that they're going to be living with and dealing with at the time. And very often it's a question that catches people unawares, particularly in final interviews. Someone will say, like, tell me about a recent piece of business news. What's something that we've done recently that interests you? What's a recent development in the industry? And so on and so forth. So try to be commercially aware. You don't need to go nuts. Just read a couple of news articles. Probably take you about half an hour to just wrap your head around what's going on. But make sure that you have some understanding of the industry. Tip number 11, be enthusiastic. So when you think about it, you're applying to do a job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, probably longer if it's a graduate job, right? You might be working 50, 60 hours a week. So if you can't maintain a high level of enthusiasm and energy for 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, like, that kind of really makes an impression on people. It also inversely makes an impression if you're the person who by the end of the day is still really energetic, really enthusiastic, like, yeah, that's a great idea, we should do that. Oh, that's fantastic. That's so clever. I totally agree. Like, it may, to some people, they'll be like, oh, that's false. Like, that's not really who I am. But ultimately, you are learning to engage in the rules of the game. So you want to be that person who is enthusiastic, motivated, energetic, helpful, happy, all of those things. People will naturally be drawn to you and they'll think, that seems like a super helpful person that I'd love to have on my team. Like, think about it. If you were working in a team of people to solve a difficult problem, who would you rather have? Somebody who's low energy, a bit sulky, a bit moody, a bit depressed, difficult to get on with, or somebody who's high energy, who's very happy, highly motivated, really happy to help, like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. What should we do next? If that's what you would prefer, then probably that's what other people are going to prefer. Tip number 12, it's all about teamwork. So I said it's all about problem solving. It's also all about teamwork. When I break down assessment centers and having to reverse engineer lots of different companies' assessment centers, this is kind of what it's about. It's about how well can you work with other people? Do you remember other people's names? Are you enthusiastic about other people? Do you lift people up? Do you try and bring people into the conversation? Are you trying to leverage the resources of your team effectively? Like, you want to be that person who's trying to engage with others and really trying their hardest. Bearing in mind, I didn't say it's all about leadership. It's not about talking the most. It's not about being the loudest, but it is about being engaged in your own charming way. Tip number 13, talk to as many people as you can. Now, bearing in mind, this may be the only time you go to an assessment centre, hopefully, fingers crossed, or it's probably going to be the only time that you go to that company's assessment centre, right? There is no other chance when you would have the opportunity to learn from so many different people, to ask different questions, to learn about what other people are doing, what other assessment centres have been to. Like, really treat it as a fact-finding mission, because that is your competition, or those are your peers. So if you see someone go like, hi, how are you? How's your day going? Everything going okay? What have you enjoyed the most today? I really like this. And when you're talking to people, listen, right? So a lot of times when I talk to people and they're really keen, I have a limited amount of time every day, and they'll talk to me, they'll spend 10 minutes talking at me, and then I'll run out of time and I'll say, it's lovely to meet you. When really, they could have just asked me a question and learned something from me, and I could have told them how to do something, right? So that's another important element, like, ask good questions, listen, really be like a sponge and take it all in. Tip number 14, and this is probably my biggest tip for assessment centres, is go to learn and not to compete. Go to learn, like, just treat it as a new experience, treat it as a test run, a dry run, something that you've never done before. Remove the expectation. Just think to yourself very simply, I've never done this before. I've never been to a Morgan Stanley Assessment Centre before. I've never been to a KPMG Super Day before. I'm just here to learn. I'm here to engage. I'm here to bring joy. I'm going with the outcome, the intent to just be joyful, to learn, be curious, and just have the best possible time that I can. Because it doesn't matter if I don't pass this assessment centre, I'm going to pass another one because I've already gotten to this stage. Guys, I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I hope that you got a lot out of it. If you did, make sure you hit like on the video, drop us a comment down below. What other videos could we make? How was your assessment centre? Was this helpful? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the best of luck. See you later.